Vijender Singh versus Francis Cheka. Vijender Singh wins by stoppage. I believe the stoppage came in the third round. After a potentially competitive first two rounds, Singh seemed to start getting the better of the action midway through the second, particularly when he was up close and the action was more on the inside. He seemed to be a lot bigger, stronger, more physically capable man than Francis Cheka. And when he started to land on him, you could see Cheka maybe wasn't liking it in there. In the third round, Singh was growing in confidence. He was, showboating to the crowd. He was doing a lot of posturing, and he caught Cheka a few times. Cheka seemed hurt. I'm not sure if he's suggesting there was some sort of injury or some sort of damage sustained. But Cheka seemed to lose his mouthpiece, go over to his corner, and then appeared sort of quitting the ring in the third round, and the referee waved it off. Now, credit to the promoters, credit to the organisers. They have created a truly fantastic event, and they have created a truly fantastic hype and celebrity to Vijender Singh. The atmosphere in the arena was crazy. You could hear the fans going wild. Every time Vijender Singh landed or threw a power punch of note, the crowd was going wild. The commentary team, certainly on the Box Nation footage that I was watching, was entertaining in a ridiculous fashion. They were sort of screaming about the power of Vijender Singh and how unbelievable it was that he had been able to win his belt in that sort of fashion. They also repeatedly referred to Vijender Singh as the champion. Now, I know he was defending some sort of very fringe minor WBO belt, but let's face it, as boxing fans, we know you have your world champions. We don't typically think of someone holding a minor belt as the champion, defending their championship. We more just kind of think of it as fights. But yeah, the commentary team was extremely pro Vijender Singh. They were blown away by his breathtaking performance, as was the crowd. So there's a lot of hype, a lot of celebrity, and a lot of momentum being built around Vijender Singh. He's clearly a very popular guy. He's clearly a very marketable guy, and they're doing a good job in terms of building him. Now, in terms of the fight itself, as always, we'll start with the positives. Singh's just gone out and he stopped Cheka in 3 rounds. That's a good performance. Cheka, I think, had 43 fights leading up to this. He'd won 32. So Vijender Singh at 7-0 has just gone out and he's just beaten a far more experienced opponent. Now, when you actually break down Cheka's resume, he's had 9 losses and 2 draws. Of the 9 losses, he's been stopped 5 times previously. And we must factor in that's 11 times Cheka has entered the ring and not emerged victorious. Now, I've looked through his resume. I've looked at the people who've beaten him. If we're being frank, Cheka does not represent the top of the sport. He does not represent the elite of the super middleweight division. He's not a top 25 or a top 50 super middleweight as far as I'm concerned. In terms of the Great British scene, I could probably think of 5 or 10 guys I would pick to beat Cheka at this stage. Having said that, he's an experienced operator and Singh's just beaten him. I thought Singh's timing, as ever, was very, very good in this fight. Singh seems to have a knack for throwing the right punch at the right time. You often see him leading with power punches, and he has a knack of catching opponents as they come running in. He has very, very, very good timing, and timing is a hugely beneficial, positive attribute to have in this game. So Vijender Singh's timing, funnily enough, is probably one of the things I like most about him. When he catches his opponent, when he sees the opening, he tends to throw the right punch, he tends to score, and he tends to score well. He's also clearly a guy who is naturally somewhat heavy-handed. I don't personally buy into him being a massive puncher. I suspect as he goes up in levels and as he stops fighting top 20 or top 30 super middleweights, it will transpire that Vijender Singh does not have the superb one-punch knockout power that his fans and his commentators seem to believe he does have. However, he is a heavy-handed guy. You can see when he throws punches, they come with speed, they come with precision, they come with a bit of heat to them. And even though he maybe not, he didn't knock Cheka down in this fight, he got him to quit. But you could tell as the punches were landed that they were digging in and that they were having some sort of effect. So for me, if I look at Vijender Singh, those are the things I like about him. He's got good timing and he's got good heavy-handedness. He also seems to be a relatively patient guy. He's not over-eager, he's not forcing things, he's not charging around the ring trying to get his work off. He's patient, he watches his gaps, and I like that. You know, that's a sign of a guy who's got a good amateur career. That's the sign of a guy with a good head on his shoulders. You know, obviously Singh's not a youngster. He's not going to be moved overly slowly. They're going to have to move him forward at a decent enough pace, and if he can keep that attitude and, you know, be the ring general in there by dictating the fight on his own terms, it will stand him in very, very good stead. Having said all of that, and I appreciate that the majority of people who take the time to watch this video will be Vijender Singh fans, as an objective outsider here, I am not thoroughly convinced that Vijender Singh is going to make it at the top level. Certainly not as much as his fans and the commentators do. For me, Vijender Singh is a little bit robotic in there, specifically in terms of his movement. I don't think he's got the best footwork in there. In fact, at times I'm actually surprised at some of the footwork he is showing, if you consider that he is actually an Olympian with such high amateur pedigree. You know, sometimes I'd have thought the footwork would be a little bit sharper in there. Because the footwork isn't so smooth, that sometimes leads to him being slightly inaccurate with his punches. You know, he doesn't tend to have very quick feet. He tends to make big adjustments and then throw a punch that maybe comes up short as a result. He also really, really doesn't use his jab. His jab is a huge development area for Vijender Singh. He is a big guy. He's a tall, rangy guy at super middleweight. He should be developing a jab as one of his major weapons, getting that jab popping out again and again and again. But he's just not doing that. He's very, very power shot heavy. He's someone who likes to lead with power punches. And as he steps up in levels, he's going to be going up against opponents who throw everything off the jab. He's going to be having to get involved in fights where the jabs are winning rounds. And I have some concern as to the lack of his jab that I'm witnessing in his game at this point. I also thought on the rare occasions when Cheka put the pace on him and made Vijender Singh work on his back foot, I also thought Vijender Singh was slightly less comfortable on his back foot. There was a few occasions where Cheka came forward and Vijender Singh, I don't want to say he panicked, but he went back very quickly, and for me he neglected what I would class as technically minded footwork. He just kind of rushed back and tried to circle out. And what you'll see as he steps up in level is he'll be fighting guys who are setting traps. They won't just charge forward with uneducated pressure. They'll be charging forward, bobbing and weaving. They'll be charging forward, coming in lower at an angle. They'll be throwing a jab to his chest and then coming up with an overhand right. And Singh's got to be really careful. When he's on his back foot, he's got to keep his hands up, he's got to keep his chin down, he's got to be defensively astute, and he's got to make sure he's not leaving himself open to being caught. You know, he's doing very, very well at this sort of level. My concern is that I'm seeing holes in his game that I think may not stand him in as good stead when he moves up to the sort of top 25 level in the world. He's going to have threats out there. You know, he is a guy who's going to be a threat to people because he's a big guy, he's obviously heavy-handed, he's got good timing, he's got a wealth of amateur experience, and he's performed at a very, very high level in the amateurs. So he's going to be a threat. My concern is that when he faces a slippery guy, if you look at James DeGale, who I consider to be the top super middleweight in the world at the minute, you know, James DeGale's going to be coming in southpaw and orthodox. He's going to be hitting him with every punch under the sun, coming from every angle under the sun. And for me, with Singh's potential to be quite upright, with limited head movement, limited upper body movement, limited footwork, I have a concern that he could be a sitting duck for an opponent like James DeGale at this stage of his career. Having said that, this was only his 8th fight. At 8 fights in, you're not supposed to be able to win a world title. So there's plenty of time for him to work on that. And maybe a few more fights at this sort of level, if he's kept very active, would be no bad thing whatsoever. I'm interested to see how he progresses. I'm interested to follow his career. I think his promoters and the team around him are doing great stuff in terms of building his profile and, you know, taking him to the right places. And I think he can be a threat. When I look at him, I'm just concerned if he's a bit stiff, a bit robotic, and if he lacks the angles, if he lacks the sophistication, if he lacks the fluidity and smoothness and slickness of what I personally consider to be a world-class fighter. That's my area of doubt on Vijender Singh. Let me know your take, people. How impressed were you by this performance? What level do you think he can get to? If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, you haven't checked out my other stuff, do take the time to subscribe so you can see all my thoughts on the other fights and fighters. Many thanks for watching.